an Xbox fan has been hard for the last 11 years. Back when I was a wee little lad, about 20 years ago, I got introduced to gaming with Sony's PlayStation 1. And while I did enjoy having it, I remember going to Video Choice to rent out games for the night, and then my stepdad would just simply not return them, and then they went out of business. I was also very poor, and I wasn't able to get as many games as I wanted for the PlayStation 1. My stepdad eventually got a PlayStation 2, and I believe it was my grandmother that decided to get me a console that would change my life. The original Xbox. That was the first console that I officially owned. The PlayStation 1 was a hand-me-down from my stepdad. The original Xbox was mine. That thing was all mine, Duke controller and all. To say that I was an Xbox fanboy would be a little under-redundant, honestly. I loved the original Xbox more than any other console I had, and I had eventually a PlayStation 2. But I can tell you right now, when I was growing up and when I went to the local GameStop, which wasn't that local for me, I remember running straight towards the original Xbox area because that was my area. Those were my games that I could play that I didn't have to worry about sharing or anything of that sort. I have really fond memories of it. I remember playing one of my favorite games of all time, which I still had to this day. And one of the first games that I actually had to do some PC trickery or whatever you would call it to get it working on my PC. It's not perfect, but it works. And that was Jaws Unleashed. As a 7-year-old, I should not have been allowed to play that game. But I remember playing the crap out of it with my original Xbox. I remember Call of Duty Finest Hour. My first Call of Duty game was on the original Xbox. And of course, you can't forget Halo and Halo 2, dude. I remember looking at an article back when Game Informer actually did them. And I remember seeing the article for Halo 3, and me and my next door neighbor were really, really excited for it to come out. Only to be told in a quote from Master Chief, "Sorry, Xbox players, but we're moving on to the Xbox 360 for Halo 3. And I remember being so upset because I'm like, dang, I really like my Xbox. I don't want to move on. And I just feel like the original Xbox doesn't get talked about enough as it should have. Like, we had Jet Set Radio, and Crazy Taxi was on the original Xbox. It was on other stuff too as well. But those are just some of the games. There was a game called Conflict I really liked that was like a SOCOM ripoff, and it was really fun to play. And of course, I had stuff like GTA San Andreas and stuff like that. And they're just really, really fun times that I recall from the original Xbox. And it's what helped solidify me as originally an Xbox fanboy. Then, eventually, I went to my dad's on the weekends, and I originally got a PlayStation 3. I remember my dad talking to me one weekend, and I don't really know what happened and why he got me it, but he just messaged me one day and said, "Hey, what do you think if we got an Xbox 360? My dad is not a gamer, by the way. I think the most I ever saw him play was Cooking Dash or whatever it was called on PC. And that was basically it. But then just one day he said, why don't we get a 360? And I got a 360. And I had a PlayStation 3 and an Xbox 360. And I'll tell you right now, I played the Xbox 360 more than the PlayStation. Especially when I got access to Xbox Live. And I met some insane friends in there. I friended a whole family, actually, and became best friends with their son in Call of Duty Black Ops 2, where his father would actually train the zombies downstairs while me and his mother held up in the Oval Office area. Very, very good memories, and I met some really awesome people on Xbox 360. The party system, the messages, the social chats, all that stuff. The avatars especially, like, it was the one thing I thought Sony was crazy for not doing, except for their, like, PlayStation RPG thing that always took forever to load and stuff like that. It was always crazy to me they never took advantage of it. I remember playing DJ Hero 2 on my Xbox and seeing your avatar as a potential playable character. So it made me want to spend Xbox points to get outfits for my character, and it was awesome. I miss the avatars, I really do. It's a shame those are gone. My avatar is still on my Xbox One, actually, because I never changed the profile picture. It's just awesome memories. I know PlayStation 3 technically won in sales, but I feel like no one really talks about it. It doesn't help that PlayStation 3's hardware and software and games were kind of locked away with, I forget what it was, but it's how they built the games. It's really, really hard to port them. That's why we haven't seen really an Infamous remaster and stuff like that. Like, we only had the PlayStation Now variant where you could play the game through a server on their end. Which, honestly, I feel like if PlayStation 3 was a lot more backwards compatible, maybe people would talk about it more. But Xbox 360 is where the original talks of backwards compatibility came. For example, there were a few original Xbox games that was able to play on 360. Very small list, but one of them was Morrowind, and that's actually how I played Morrowind, through Xbox 360. And like I said, I know that the sales when it comes to 360 versus 3, technically Sony won that console war, but honestly more people talked about 360 and all that. And now I know it had the red ring of death, and a lot of people think that's why it caught up on sales compared to the PlayStation 3. But it also came out a year earlier, and it was cheaper. So it was really a better alternative if you were on a budget, which I will say this, the 360 was the only console I ever had at both my mom's and my dad's. And that was just simply because it was cheaper. I have a lot of good fond memories of Xbox 360, and I bet a lot of you do too. It's truly an amazing system, and there's a reason people are begging for backwards compatibility. And it's so good that Xbox is focusing on that, or was focusing on it. I think they still are. And that they made almost the entire Xbox 360 library backwards compatible. Because it starts to soften the blow a little bit with the tragedy of the Xbox One. Have you ever heard the tragedy of an always online Kinect? It's not something Microsoft wants you to remember. The tragedy of the Xbox One is really something that's sad, and unfortunately, we are still feeling the effects of it to this day. The Xbox One being announced was something we were all very excited for, especially if you were a fanboy. The 360 was a console of the generation, and people were really excited to see how they're going to make this console better, essentially. And the thing we kept hearing about was TV.
Watch TV. 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 TV, TV, watch TV, 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 TV remote, TV experience, TV, 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 sports TV, TV, TV.
They were always so focused on the TV part of this console, and it seems like they forgot they were at E3. And then not only that, just having, like, we came here to see the video games. Yes, some of the stuff the Xbox One could do was actually pretty cool. Being able to watch a television show and play a game on the same screen was something unheard of unless you were on PC gaming with multiple monitors or watching through your phone or a tablet next to you. And in fact, it's something I used to do all the time. I would have my laptop next to me while I'm playing games. Now that I'm on a PC with 3 monitors, I don't have that issue anymore. But as cool as that feature was, stuff started to happen that made people really not happy. And that was essentially the always online thing, and this console had to always be online. If you didn't have internet, this thing was basically a paper holder, and people took that literal and made actual means of it, like holding paper. Not only that, the Kinect being always on, like always watching you, was just disturbing. Like, seriously, I don't know why you thought something for gaming needed to be on all the time. And the fans didn't think so either. The Xbox One backlash is something that will probably live on forever in video game history. And even though I didn't agree with all the changes, they reverted them before they released the console. Thank goodness. The always online and stuff like that. The always online and the Kinect always being always on did eventually get reverted. And most Xbox Ones came with the Kinect too, which was kind of a cool feature. By the time the Xbox One S came out and the Xbox One X, they got rid of the Kinect, essentially. And the Kinect just kind of died by itself. I remember in the 360, it was a cool little gimmick, but that was about it. I even had one. I still have it, actually, I think. Oh, no, wait, I tossed it. It was cool that they listened to the feedback, but unfortunately, it seemed like it was too late. And Xbox One sales fucking got hurt versus the PlayStation 4. All the features that they added, yeah, while they were cool, like they said, it was a focus on TV, and it's like, I'm here to game. If I want to watch TV, I'll watch TV, or I'll watch Netflix. And I will say this, the Xbox One's name was supposed to be like It's the one device you need for all your stuff. So they were trying to do a bunch of things with this console. Games, movies, TV, streaming platforms, stuff like that. And in a way, that is a good thing, but you should have advertised all of those things, not just one thing, and push it out there. Games really did feel like they were secondary when it came to this console device, which is a damn shame because I loved my Xbox One. I had the day one edition, and it actually just died like 2 years ago. The disk drive itself, not the actual console. The disk drive I had to hold like sideways to get a disk to actually read and get in its correct slot. Luckily, my buddy Gaius gave me his Xbox One S because I wasn't fully on PC yet. My PC was just starting to get built. I will say this, nearing the end of the era for the Xbox One, it was good that I swapped to PC because as much as I love Microsoft and Xbox, the Series X generation is horrible. And honestly, I haven't really heard anything when it comes to this generation. I'm fully on PC, but I was fully on PC about a year before the Series X came out, or the Series X got revealed, and I loved the look of it. Honestly, I love the Samsung fridge design. I love that. I actually wanted to get a PC case based off of that, but I never ended up doing that, obviously. And I still enjoy the design of it. I don't really know what it does compared to the Xbox One, though, because as I started listening to reviews and seeing, because I was so curious to possibly get one, it was just the Xbox One, but more powerful. That was it. It had the same display, same HUD, stuff like that. And it was like, what was the point to play games at a higher resolution? Congrats. Games are still coming out on the Xbox One. So, yeah, you're going to suffer some graphics and maybe loading times, but at least you would have saved $500. And while, don't get me wrong, I do believe the Series X specs are really impressive. I genuinely do enjoy them. By a couple years, I had stuff similar to the Series X, though, and I don't need to worry about this thing getting like a red ring of death or some sort, if that's still happening. But we started to quickly see what Microsoft was doing. For those of you who are unaware, Microsoft is a software selling company. Hardware has not always been the best thing. A lot of people forgot about the Windows Phone, stuff like that, but they essentially sell Windows software. And as much as everyone hates it, you're probably on it right now, just like I am. And yeah, there are other options like Mac OS if you're a Mac user, or if you want to try to learn the complexity of Linux for ultimate internet freedom, then go for it. But a lot of people just stick with Windows, whether they like it or not. It's the easiest way to go. With that being said, Xbox has been focusing more on their software side, it seems, than their hardware side. Especially these last couple of years, I want to say. Phil Spencer basically admitting that they're not trying to get anybody they're not trying to pull people away from PlayStation or Nintendo and stuff like that to Xbox is kind of just a little strange to hear and concerning as an Xbox fan. I will say right now, I have left Xbox in the dust as much as it saddens me, because like I said, I grew up with them. I grew up with both consoles, but for some reason I always favored Microsoft. But then they came out with something during the end of the era for Xbox One, and that was Game Pass. And this is where stuff started to connect with them being a software company. Xbox Game Pass is almost everywhere. It's on all the Xboxes, obviously. It's dirt cheap, and you can get it on PC. And honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if it's on PlayStation soon. Especially because we're hearing that apparently Halo is going to go to PlayStation. Halo, your giant, your title giant for Xbox and Microsoft, and you're going to put it on your competitor's console? That's nuts. That's like PlayStation. That's like PlayStation putting the Sly Cooper franchise on Xbox. That would be nuts and honestly unheard of. And honestly, as someone who really hates exclusivity, I really, really do. It's more of a shock factor than a, why are you doing this? This is a horrible idea. No, it's gonna make them money, and at the end, they're a software company and they want to make money. They're not. You have to remember as well, Microsoft is also doing other things besides just Xbox. They have their software, they have Windows, they have Game Pass is basically its own thing now that they monitor on PC and Xbox. So with Microsoft doing all these other things, It's not a shock that they're slowly not focusing on the consoles. If I'm gonna be honest, I have a theory that we might not see an Xbox console one year. Now, Phil Spencer has confirmed that there is at least one more Xbox console coming, and apparently they're already making great jumps through to make this thing worth buying, which is crazy for me to think, because I know there's a lot of people that are still playing on Xbox One and PlayStation 4, and then you sit here and you're like, holy crap, this isn't a new generation, this is a modern generation, and people are just behind. Or the economy's so bad that people have just put aside getting a new console. And that's another thing too, consoles don't really make money for them when it comes to that. They usually make the money on games. Sony makes money on both, because in the end, Sony is always going to be a hardware company. PlayStation is a big factor in that. Nintendo has their own area of expertise with video games. They can make this console and then they don't need to worry about it because they'll produce games. It's all profit to them. But with the shift of Game Pass suddenly growing everywhere and putting Microsoft exclusives on PlayStation, something Sony would never do, the fact that we're getting Sony exclusives on PC is honestly the best of both worlds. At this point, what is the point of having an Xbox Series X? Obviously, simplicity is probably the biggest goal, and the cost, because yeah, you're eventually going to need to upgrade your PC. But you're also looking at the price of everything for a PC that you buy maybe a couple months or into years versus buying one console. It will play every game that goes on that console unless it's poorly optimized, and you don't need to worry about it until the next console. I understand why people still play console, and trust me, I still play with a controller. Speaking of the Duke, I even have a Duke controller for my PC and that I'll play with from time to time. I don't play with it too much though, not because it sucks. I actually really enjoy it, especially now that I'm bigger and not, a 5-year-old kid trying to grasp onto this thing. I just simply don't want to break this because this thing is awesome. But it makes me wonder, and what do you guys think for the future of Xbox? It seems like they're not worried about consoles anymore. With them acquiring all these stations and stuff, it seems like they're going to focus on basically selling Game Pass and selling games. Selling games everywhere. As a software company, getting your software everywhere is the best way to make money, and it seems like that's what they're doing when it comes to selling their video games as well, which is now basically software, because physical discs are slowly dying out, unfortunately. But I just wanted to reminisce. I've been getting recommended videos and articles about all this stuff that's happening lately, and I just wanted to throw in some 2 cents and give you guys some information about it as well, because I really do like Xbox, and I do like Microsoft. They did make some great decisions, especially during the original and 360 era, and it's a shame to see stuff like this. While they're doing perfectly fine financially, even though they keep buying studios and then shutting them down, you assholes, they're technically fine. They really are. And if Xbox was something that they decided to scrap and never make another console again, they would be fine. They really would. They would just sell their stuff on PC and PlayStation. And as much as people love Steam when it comes to playing games on Steam, I want to say that the PC Game Pass is actually doing better than Epic when it comes to getting people off Steam and putting them onto your platform. But that's also because Microsoft makes it very fluid. You literally log into your Microsoft account and all the games are right there. You click install and you call it a day. Because people harp on Game Pass seeming like a bad financial idea, especially for new video games being put on there that's not Microsoft exclusive. It's working. People still talk about Game Pass to this day. I think they just recently raised the price of it, but it's still ungodly cheap for the amount of games you get for it. Hell, I don't have PC Game Pass on my computer, but that's just because of my personal financial stuff going through. But the second I'm able to, I would buy PC Game Pass because hundreds of games right there, and I pay $12 a month? It's kind of nuts. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. What are some of your fondest memories of Xbox? Do you think this is smart that they're going more software versus hardware? Or do you wish that they would just simply go back to the 360 era, make both and come out strong every console year and stuff like that? But yeah, I just wanted to reminisce on how Xbox used to be, and I miss it. Even though I love PC and I love being on PC, I definitely still had some nostalgia when it comes to them. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like, and please do me a favor and subscribe. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subs this year, and I would really, really appreciate it. The sooner the better. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you.